Yeah, this video is about Jews and Christians, natural allies against Islam. And I know we're going to say, oh, you're rage baiting or you're making controversial videos because you want views, etc. And the answer is, you can say that if you like, but my main goal, the reason that I'm doing this video, is because I believe that it is increasingly important to take a stand against the ideology that spreads by design like a cancer, because its ultimate aim is to take over the world and force people to believe in their ways, or to be forced to become a slave or an enemy, which is a third-class citizen that has to pay a special jizya tax just to continue practicing their own beliefs, or to be killed if they don't agree to be converted or to convert to Islam. Well, I believe that Christians and Jews make natural allies in this for many reasons. By the way, I believe that Christians and Jews make natural allies for other reasons as well. I'm just principally focused here on the battle against Islam. For those who are Christians and somehow identify with Islam against the Jews, let me tell you what a grievous error you're making. Because if you're a Christian and you believe in the Trinity, that is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, if you believe that Jesus is your Lord and Savior, and you're standing against the Jews, and you're standing with Islam against the Jews, you're making a big mistake, because the Jews don't want to oppress you and conquer you and force you to be Jewish. We support your right to be Christian, and you can believe whatever you want if you're a good person in life, whether you believe in God or not. Whatever God you believe in, if you're a good person, if you do good deeds throughout your life, and you're not an evil person who does evil deeds, well, then guess what? You get to go to heaven too. Right? That's what we believe as Jews. We don't believe we're better than anyone. We just believe everybody has the right to live their life in peace and freedom. And that's why Judaism and Christians make great allies and natural allies in general, right? By the way, Christians who believe that eventually Jesus will come around and kill all the non-believers, well, guess what? You may think that's incompatible with Judaism because of the whole Armageddon thing and everything, but it actually isn't. If you look at it very logically, according to the actual words of the actual text, right? In the story of Armageddon and the Book of Revelations and all that, and in the Christian Bible, right? It's very clear that Christians believe Jesus will come back as the Messiah, and he will do the deeds as laid out. Well, guess what? In Judaism, we also believe that there will be a day of reckoning and that the Messiah will show up. And that when the Messiah shows up, the world will be elevated to a higher place. And he will be a warrior king, and he will defeat the enemies of God. And guess what it doesn't say? It doesn't say that Christianity is the enemy of God, because Christianity didn't exist when that was written. And Jews do not view Christians as the enemies of God if they're good people, right? Now, are there certain Christians who've done terrible things, and you could say, well, they are the enemy of God? Well, sure, there's bad people in every religion: Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Zoroastrianism, any South American religion you want to point to, Mayans, Aztecs, you name it, right? Native Americans in the United States, from the Sioux to the Apache and many other tribes. Every people group has some bad people in it, obviously. Right? That's not even Tibetan monks were known to be peaceful and loving and spiritually connected and believe in the oneness of the universe and all that stuff. Even they have some bad people among them. You may say, well, they have less bad people, but well, maybe not. There's bad people in every group. Okay. Christians, as a matter of strict interpretation of the words, if you don't twist it with some kind of political agenda, as many churches have done or as many people have done, right? If you just read it the way that it's written, and you believe like most Christians to do that, well then guess what? You're not an enemy of God. And Jews don't view you as an enemy of God. And if you think about it, your book also doesn't view the Jews as the enemy of God. But why? Because when the Messiah shows up, right, regardless of who it is, Jews will think that's the Messiah, and we will be happy. It doesn't matter what his name is. His name could be Vernon. His name could be Shmulek. His name could be Abraham. His name could be Jesus. It doesn't matter what his name is. It could be anything. He will be a warrior king, according to our beliefs. Well, you believe he's going to help annihilate all the enemies of God. That would make him a warrior king, one way or the other. So you see, there is compatibility between Jews and Christians, and we can still keep our different religions. You can believe what you want to believe. We can believe what we want to believe. And we still get along just fine. There are also other views about this, which I could dive into quite a lot. But I might just mention one, which is if you believe that, no, absolutely, Christians will destroy the heathens, and that includes any Jews who don't accept Jesus as their Lord and Savior, well, then you can still hold to that belief and still be an ally of the Jewish people. How? Well, because if a person doesn't believe in God in the first place, or doesn't believe in your particular version of God, right, then it doesn't really matter what you're preaching, in the sense that they have their own beliefs and you have yours. And they're not going to harm you in their lifetime, and you're not going to harm them, unless the end of days actually happens during your lifetime, and you are set to do that by your God, right? You're ordered to do that by your God at Armageddon. But listen, we've been going for thousands of years, and the Messiah hasn't shown up. Not for Judaism, not for Christianity. So, there is a non-zero probability that you will live your life, and a very long afterlife, if you believe in that, without any Armageddon happening. And you will be deeply ensconced in your heaven or hell or whatever you want to believe in, if you're a Christian, before any such thing happens. So it won't matter, because you won't be, called upon to do that war, right? So people who say, well, Christian fundamentalists, Christian evangelists, they only support Israel because they want the end of days to come so that they can subject the Jews. That's actually not true. There are many Christians who do not agree with that, and they agree with what I've just said, that we are actually compatible. Right? But even if you say, well, some percentage of them want to do that, I remind you, there is a non-zero probability that it won't happen in your lifetime. So you can live your life as an ally of the Jews, and the Jews can live their lives as an ally to you and all Christians without it interfering with your beliefs or theirs. You can believe that you will subject the Jews one day. No harm done, as long as you're not actually doing it. You can believe it. No problem. And Jews can believe that the Messiah will come and will be a warrior. Doesn't interfere with your beliefs. Remember, in Judaism also, we don't believe that you can't go to heaven just because you're Christian, right? Like I said earlier, as long as you believe you're doing good deeds, as long as you're doing good deeds, and you're a good person, and you're not doing evil deeds, you're not an evil person, yeah, when God judges you, then guess what? You're going to heaven, right? You don't have to believe in Judaism to do that. It's just that on Jews, we have a special task. Every group has its own special task. Ours is to follow the 613 commandments of the Torah. And you're not going to follow all 613 of them as an individual, because some of them you cannot fulfill. Like, they need to be done in certain groups or as a high priest or whatever. And if you're not a high priest, you can't do it, right? But there's 613. And however many that you can do, you're supposed to do them, right? It doesn't mean that we're better than anyone. It just means we have extra homework. That's literally all it means. It's almost like God saying, hey, I saw you napping through the first period. Now I'm going to give you twice as much homework as everyone else, or 100 times as much homework as everyone else. That's literally all it means, right? Is it a special privilege? Well, we might view it as, hey, it's nice to be Jewish. It's a small group of people, but we have nice values. We like it. That's the only, it's literally a feeling, right? So is that feeling a special privilege? Well, it might be to you. Some people hate it. Many Jews are like, oh, it sucks. We have all these commandments and we don't get any benefit, and we don't get any, we don't get any prizes for it. Yeah, we don't get any prizes for it, other than the fact that we have an amazing country called Israel. We have an amazing people called the Jews. We have amazing friends around the world from every faith, from every culture, from every nationality. Yes, there are plenty of people around the world who don't like us, but there have always been people who don't like us and who sought our destruction, etc., or enslavement, or what have you. But we're now living in 2026, and the reality is we have the ability to remain strong for now as a people, not because we're necessarily pious, but because we uphold the values that make our people strong. And those who are religious about it, good for them. And those who aren't, good for them too. As long as they uphold the values, the core values, you know? For example, the 10 Commandments, right? Hello there, I see you in the comments. Thank you for your message. And also, if you like this video, please do me a huge favor and smash the like button. And if you would, if you're not already subscribed, please do so. What is it they say? Because it helps the algo gods bring awareness to my channel, which will be nice. And I know I cover a lot of different topics on this channel, but that's because it really is my personal channel. This is not the channel for like my business or anything. So I talk about religion stuff, I talk about politics stuff, I talk about trading, talk about crypto, Bitcoin, whatever. I talk about political markets, I talk about economic markets, I talk about culture, I talk about marketing, talk about all kinds of different things, SEO, SEM, AI, you name it, right? Health tech, whatever. Any kind of industry you can think of. I cover these things, but some more than others. And yes, increasingly I've been dealing more with cultural and political issues, because I think we live in a time where right now I can use my voice to do something about it. So again, if you want to help me reach more people about all these esoteric topics, in a very eclectic website, YouTube channel that YouTube does not like, because I don't focus on one niche and I have such a tiny audience, so they don't know how to categorize me and they don't know how to promote me to anyone. Then by all means, please smash that subscribe button and click the notifications bell icon so you get all the notifications whenever I do a new live stream or post a new video, etc. Anyway, back to the topic at hand, shall we? Thank you. So as I said, this video is really about why Christians and why Christians and Jews make natural allies versus Islam, right? And that's because Islam does not believe in coexisting peacefully. There is no way to interpret that, given the current texts and given the fact that Islam has never reformed itself like Christianity and Judaism have, right? Christianity has reformed itself. The Great Reformation, right? The Vatican Council, etc., etc. Judaism has reformed itself. right? What's the Talmud? What's the Mishnah, the Gemara? These are reformations and updates of the religion to not uh, remain stuck in the past on questions that have a better understanding, right? We are able now to know things that we did not know before about the state of the world, etc. We're able to do things differently than before, right? And many of the commandments that may have been interpreted one way can certainly be interpreted another way if, especially if, right, it is open to interpretation, which many of these things were when they did the whole Talmud thing in Judaism, right? Which, remember, took us like several centuries to do. It's not like we had a one-night dinner talk and decided, oh, we're going to update these rules this way. No, it lasted, it's literally discussions between rabbis going over centuries, right? And commentary about the discussions, questions and answers of all kinds of wild and crazy topics, but as well as basic fundamental concepts, right? And there's the discussions, the commentaries, and then there's the oral law update, right? The update to the Torah based on oral law, right? That's the whole point of the Talmud, right? Those are the two sections that it's broken up into, essentially. Which, by the way, takes like years to read and study and learn. Like, you know, on average, probably 7 to 9 years just to read it one page a day and study it one page a day, which is typically how that's done. So, you know, congratulations to all you keyboard warriors who are out there somehow reading the Talmud in an afternoon, or getting your summary statement from ChatGPT or whatever about what the Talmud is, and then making wild accusations against the Jews without understanding anything about what I'm talking about. Right? If you just read the text and you just zip through them and you don't actually learn what each page has to offer you, you really don't understand how to study it. That would be like trying to say you're a medical doctor because you read all the medical books from a university program in a weekend or a night, and you read it really fast, so you know everything now. That doesn't make you a doctor, right? It doesn't make you even as knowledgeable as a doctor. There's a lot of things that you learn in medicine that aren't in the books. There's a lot of things you do in medicine when you practice it that are very different than what you might perceive them to be when you read about them. So, yeah, just consuming the text does not automatically make you an expert on the topic, right? The reason I say that is very clear, is to make the point that you don't just become an expert on the Talmud because you read some phrase of some text. Yeah, and by the way, I will use the defense that Muslims make. They'll say, well, it's all about context. Well, guess what? In Judaism too, baby. In Judaism too. If you don't understand the context of the question or the answer, and you don't understand the reason that something was discussed, let alone turned into oral law, and not just a discussion, a commentary, well, then you don't have any idea what you're talking about, because you're just blurting words without any comprehension, right? Reading comprehension matters. That's why you're tested on it in school. Again, to those of you on the live, thank you very much for being here. It's my pleasure to speak with you, and I'd love it if you would drop comments, more comments below. I'm happy to read them, if I can read them in this bright sunlight, but I'll do my best. And yeah, thanks again for liking the video and smashing the subscribe button and the bell notification thing so that I can be seen by more people. And so again, the reason that Islam is not compatible with Judaism and Christianity and is in a religion versus religions mode is because the very nature of the ideology of Islam is to conquer the world with Sharia and jihad, right? Jihad is the mechanism, right, to forcefully make a holy war and tell me it's a spiritual war of the individual. Okay, it's still jihad. Jihad of the spiritual individual thing, or by force. That's it. That's what jihad is, right? You know, that ideology believes that. And those who don't agree to it, again, can be killed or enslaved or made into dhimmis who have to pay jizya, or they can agree to convert, and then they can be spared and have the full rights and privileges of being a Muslim, which include all of the worst hedonistic gangster style promises that no one else but a warlord would have come up with. And when I say warlord, I'm being extremely kind, because apart from being a warlord, he was a PDF file, he was an harpist, he was all kinds of bad things. And what is promised to you in Islam? Think about it. In Islam, it says you have to, not touch alcohol in life, not smoke, not eat food that isn't considered halal, right? You're not supposed to have intimate relations if you're not married. You are allowed to have up to 3 wives. What a headache, eh? And when you die, if you die a good death, if you are a noble Muslim or a shaheed or whatever, if you're a person who did good your whole life, then you go to heaven and you get 72 virgins if you're a man. If you're a woman, you get to be with your husband if he's dead, and if he's not, you get to wait for him, and eventually you get to be together forever, and he gets to still have 72 virgins on top of you. And if you're a woman and you die a good person and you weren't married, then you get to have basically a life partner, right? Some other man who's going to be your life partner. He's also going to have 72 virgins, right? If he gets to do that. So you will never be more than one of 72 or one of 73. You will never be equal to a man in any status in Islam. It's just a fact. You can try to deny it all you want, but you're kidding yourself. And ain't nobody else being fooled by that but you and whoever believes that silly nonsense. So, yeah, Islam does not view anybody as equals. And in fact, purposefully makes people fight over their beliefs. And it is a religion that intends to conquer the world and enslave everybody or make them third-class citizens or make them Muslims. And I know I've repeated this multiple times. It's because people don't understand this enough. They think, oh, Islam's not a problem. Islam is just another religion. We have to be tolerant of it. Society is better because we have Muslims in it. No. Society is not better necessarily because we have Muslims in it. Society would be better if we had Muslims who are not jihadis in it. And when I say not jihadis, I don't just mean the violent ones. Again, I mean the ones who claim to be peaceful, yet do nothing to oppose those who are not peaceful. I am peaceful, and yes, if I have to fight, I have to fight, obviously, to defend myself. But I'm a peaceful person, and I actively do things to oppose violent jihadism and any other ideology that is trying to oppress everyone else. Right? What are these videos about? Why am I making such a video? To bring awareness to people who don't know any better, who literally, to the ones who know nothing or very little about this whole ideology and the problem that it brings to the world. I don't do it out of malice or hatred towards Muslims. I really don't. Right? I do it because I'm concerned that the ideology that Muslims believe in is intolerant and supremacist and ultimately wants to wipe out huge chunks of humanity for its ultimate goals and is in the process of doing that as much as it can. And that needs to stop. And it won't stop by people just saying, oh yeah, I'm peaceful, and then not doing anything about it. If you stand on the sidelines and you have the ability not to, and you let things bad happen, let bad things happen, when you have the ability to do something about it, at least to voice your opposition to it, publicly, then you're complicit. You're complicit in the pursuit of the overthrow of good people. You're complicit in the attempt to basically dominate the world with an ideology of hate and death. It literally worships hatred and death. It worships hatred because it believes it's supremacist. It believes it's above everyone else. And it does so for all kinds of different reasons. And it worships death because they literally say they worship death. When you talk to jihadis who use violence, if you talk to Hamas people after an attack, you'll notice they always celebrate the person who suicided himself or went to kill other people and then got, died himself or herself. They always celebrate their death in a way that is hideous, right? They don't celebrate their death like like you're celebrating the life that they led. No, they celebrate the fact that they died in a violent attack and that they were attempting to kill Jews or Christians or anybody else. Or Muslims, by the way. Muslims kill more Muslims than anybody, It's just a fact. Because again, they don't have a centralized authority. They don't believe in a centralized authority. And they constantly make war against each other. So there is that too. Which is ultimately why, again, I say that Jews and Christians make natural allies against the ideology of Islam, which is the cancer facing the modern world. It is the cancer that we face. And it must be ended. And Jews and Christians who make natural allies both face the same threat from Islam for slightly different reasons, right? For example, Jews are seen as less than Muslims for all the reasons I've explained to you, and they believe that we've twisted and changed the Torah, even though we literally haven't. And you can say, well, you changed some letters. Yeah, to make it more legible to people who read, a more modern version of ancient Hebrew. But we still use the same Hebrew effectively, just very small changes in the writing of certain words. But it's the same Torah. And Christians believe in the Trinity, which is unacceptable to Muslims. Also, Muslims, reject the idea that Jesus was God, right? And it's not just that they rejected, Jews rejected Jesus was God. We say he wasn't the Messiah, but we don't believe that makes Jesus evil. We don't think that means, that Jesus isn't important in history. Even if we don't believe Jesus existed, Jesus was still important in history because millions and billions of people do believe that Jesus existed. So it doesn't matter that Jesus existed or not. It matters that billions of people believe Jesus existed and that Jesus taught many valuable lessons to people, like love and peace and love, turning the other cheek if somebody hits you with the backhand of their fist. And that doesn't mean you have to turn your cheek if they hit you with the front of the fist after that, with the front of the hand. Is very specific about that. So yeah, there's a lot of things that Christianity is subjected to slightly differently than Judaism. And there's things that Judaism is subjected to that are slightly different than Christianity. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. Islam subjects you. Islam oppresses you. Just like it does us. And as the old saying goes, the enemy of your enemy is my friend. Right? So, it's not that Muslims are our enemy, because they're not. Again, if you think about it, what is the actual enemy? The actual enemy is the actual ideology of hate. The ideology that worships death. The ideology that wants to oppress everyone else and conquer the world. And that's why, for all the reasons I've listed in this video, Jews and Christians make natural allies in the battle of ideologies, specifically against Islam. That's going to do it for now. Until the next one, folks. Peace. Shalom.